Very good afternoon to you all from a lovely day here in Pretoria. Goeiemiddag aan almal en baie welkom vandag aan hierdie uitsending. Please remember to press the like button, share, subscribe and press the notification button for latest videos. Alright, today's topic I'm going to talk to you about Go for Green. The green connection, and I'm going to discuss how this all fits in with our politics today in South Africa. Obviously it always seems to come back to the ANC and the EFF, and with the EFF's recent march to the French embassy in Pretoria and asking for troops and Europeans to leave the continent, which took place on the 24th of March this year. And as you can see with this march, it's also in line with the African Union's policy on our heritage and our past, as I've mentioned before in previous videos. Alright, so just a little bit of background and introduction. What I'd like you to do is I need your minds to be neutral. And you'll know how to do that, whether it's a quiet spot in the house or somewhere. Maybe over a cup of coffee, but I need you to think deeply now about what I'm about to talk to you, and to chew on this thing and maybe watch the video a few times. But there's a very clear message here that I need to send out. In previous videos, or the first videos, if you can remember, I gave my reasons why I joined the Southland Defence. Hoekom ek het by die Suidland verdediging aangesluit. I shared with you spiritual matters of prayer, how I pray and how I'm connecting with God, and also the authority that God has given you. And then with later videos I discussed more strategic issues, operational issues, and obviously politics and various other matters. So with today's video I'm going to combine the spiritual, let's say the spiritual with the natural part of our lives. And I think to start off with, if I can basically give an example, just to get our minds right on the natural and on the spiritual, that if you were given 5 loaves of bread and were told to go and feed 5,000 people. Now in the natural you would say that's not possible, and whoever gave you that instruction you would think have lost their marbles. Okay, so that said, one must then have a look at the spiritual side. Now going back to biblical times, if you were using your spiritual understanding, sight and hearing, if you were given 5 loaves of bread, then you know that it would be possible to feed the 5,000. So I think that as entry point, I'd like to start off then with this presentation. So basically what I'm saying is that in the spiritual, everything is possible. Alright, so I want to share with you very closely how we are all connected, and why we should, going forward, we should connect in a big time, going forward. And that we're not alone in this situation. Myself and yourself are not alone in this situation. And that there are millions and millions in the spirit that can join us. So let's talk about the color green. Now, in the biblical meaning of green, we read the following. The biblical meaning of the green color is immortality. The leaf shall not wither. This is Psalm 1 verse 3. Now I want to read this psalm to you. He is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever he does prospers. Now the word he is relative. And you'll also know what that meaning will mean if you are now listening to me in the spirit. All right, green is also symbolic of resurrection, which we see in each spring, giving new life. Green, the color green, carries the vibration of growth, new beginnings, health, renewal, harmony, hope, and peace. Now, going back a bit on the green matter, or the green issue, or the green connection, you all know that I'm Irish born. I've said that in previous videos. As you'll know, Ireland is very green, and there's a reason why Ireland is very green, because it is known as the Emerald Isle because of its green. And it rains a lot, it's warm and wet in summer, and it's cold and wet in the winter. And it's the third largest island in Europe. Now, that is my birthplace. Now, when I look at my family line and ancestry connection, it is as follows. From my dad's side, he's Irish, Scottish. And from my mom's side, my mother's side, it's Irish, French. Now, the Irish population worldwide is 70 million. Scottish population worldwide is 50 million. That brings us a total to 120 connections in the spirit. Okay, so today, if we look at Scotland, for example, 20% of the population of Scotland has an Irish background and very much part of the fabric of all the past and modern Scotland. Their presence is in everyday walk of Scottish and Irish lives gives us a special connection with one another. So there's a special connection between the Irish and the Scottish. There are shared roots between the native languages of Ireland, Irish and Scottish Highlands, and both are part of the Gaelic family of languages, which come from the Celts who settled both in Ireland and Scotland. All right, let's look at the French connection. Irish is a Celtic language. English is a Germanic language. And French is a Romance language. Now, these seemingly unrelated languages have more in common than you think. And here's how the Viking settlers conquered and settled in northern France and brought the French Romance language to Ireland. And I must say, my mom was one of the most beautiful women that walked this earth back in the time, and I have to mention her because when I think of Ireland, I think of her. Now, back in the day, and in particular after the French Revolution, Ireland found an ally in France to help with the cause of independence. And this is in the early 19th century. There was a large support of Irish revolutionaries living in Paris, France back then. Okay, taking the Irish, the Scottish and the French, let's come to the Afrikaner connection with Irish. The Afrikaner Boer connection with Irish, Scottish and the rest of Europe. Now, during these years, the Irish formed the strongest pro-Boer movement in Europe. 2 British brigades fought alongside the Boers, one of them led by Major John McBride, who was subsequently executed by the British in 1916, and that's just over 100 years ago. Now, if you look at the European connection, the term Boer, derived from the Afrikaans word for farmer, was used to describe the people in southern Africa whose past was traced to Dutch, German, and French, who arrived in the Cape of Good Hope in 1652. Now, if we look at the Dutch or the Netherlands population, we're looking at 17 million. If you look at the German population, we're looking at 130 million. If you look at the French population, we're looking at 68 million. So we're looking at a total population in the spirit connected of 355 million people worldwide. Now, on that point, can you just imagine what can be done in the spirit if we're all connected? If all these 355 people are connected, what we could do in the spirit. But that is very, very important to keep in the back of your mind, because in the natural we're not working together, but if we could in the spirit connect, we would be unstoppable. Now let's move to the recent EFF march that took place on the 24th or 25th of March, May, of this year, when they took a walk to the French embassy. I must say I'm busy with this video here, and people are walking past looking inside here, and they're actually looking at me and they're standing still. It must be the green that's causing them to stop. I believe so. All right, so this incident that took place with the EFF in the month of March on the French embassy, I see as a red light incident, because in a very subtle way there's a presentation of threat that was placed there at the doorstep of the French embassy. Malema and the EFF party made a very strong presence there. They were actually bullying the French ambassador into submission by waiting outside and insisting for them to come out. Subsequently applying this approach to the embassy, they're also applying to all the European embassies and our European connections that we experienced on that day. Now, similarly, with that march to the French embassy, let's have a look at the Randburg court appearance on the 6th of May of this year. It was also a red light incident. I mentioned this before. So, Malema, he changed his words from kill to kiss the Boer. And by saying touching the white male, attacking the white male. Now, these are the words that are used on that incident. So if we look at the behavior of the EFF and Malema himself on public platforms, the flavor remains the same. It's intimidation, it's dictatorship, it's provoking, and it's taking away the freedom of movement by all people. And that includes the blocking of the roads at the French embassy if the ambassador did not come out to receive the memorandum. It was also noticeable that the EFF supporters, that their faces, the expression on their faces, they just loved the way Malema controls the situation at the embassy and intimidating the ambassador and all his people. Right, the question we need to ask ourselves is, relating to these two recent incidents, which are major red lights for us, the Randburg incident and the French embassy incident. Question is, why does the ruling party, being the ANC, not criticize Malema's behavior of racial challenge and divide at the particular two incidents? And the second question is, why do the majority of South Africans, being black, and there's approximately 80% of them plus, and who want to build a prosperous South Africa together, and allow this sort of destructive behavior by the EFF and elements of the ANC leadership and the affiliated members and leaders? Why do they allow this to continue? They know their vote counts, but they don't do anything. Let me tell you why this all happens. Now, I was told by my own people, the reason why they don't act against their leadership is because they will be killed at their homes or in their townships or in their areas of where they live. And that's why when they leave the churches, and I've covered this before in unity with others, they go home to terror and restrictions of all sorts. So they don't have any freedom. And there isn't any democracy in their areas of life. Their culture is that of to serve only the leaders, and that they will look after them, give them free schooling, other if they are not challenged, their leadership is not challenged. But they live in fear, and this is why nothing gets done. So this brings me to my last part of the presentation, is my closure and decision time. And in closure, I want to say that we can see how the rogue politicians can ruin a country, its people and its future. And we've often heard the saying, injury to one is an injury to all. And that well in the natural that we continue to squabble, we continue to gossip, we undermine, and we stay in division with one another. But in the spirit is where the solution lies. The answer lies in the spirit, is where we can unite and change the natural positively in South Africa and globally. Now, I want to relate South Africa with Ireland. The Irish have two main faiths. It's Protestant and Catholic. And then in the natural, if I may use that, they fight over politics, or have fought over politics for many, many years. Since the history of King Henry VIII in the 1500s, there's been a faith fight between the Protestants and the Catholics. And if they were in spirit, they would be one. But because they're thinking in the natural is why the fights and the disagreements and arguments continue. But similarly, here in South Africa, we have many churches in South Africa. And this is why there are many minority groups that are separated. They can't unite. And it's because they're all thinking in the natural. And this is why I'm splitting the two up. And if the South Africans were thinking on the spiritual, mind, hearing, and understanding, then we would be making the right choices. It's time to get in contact with your family connections back in Europe and South Africa via emails and many other means, and start using your social platforms to promote the future of yourselves and your children, and connecting and standing together. Right, the responsibility that I've been putting on the videos is not just with me, it's with all of you. It's all very well listening to me, but you'll need to put what you've heard into action as well. South Africa and Africa belongs to all God's people, and not one group of manipulating thieves and rogue politicians, as we've witnessed on public platforms, must change our destinies. Because remember, we're doing this for our children. If it's anything at all, as Colonel Du Toit has mentioned in his other video, is that we need to choose money or our people. And in the day, we need to choose our people. I wrote a comment here. How does a handful intimidate, just a handful of members, intimidate a population of 355 million spiritually connected people worldwide? How does this happen? And it's because there's a lack of spiritual knowledge in the Word. We have the numbers, and we have the global connection worldwide. So you must use that medium, and you must go green. Touching white people means touching the entire European race of that green connection. Remembering Noah's Ark back in biblical times, then I want you to go and read Luke 12, verse 12, and the green connection with one another. Now, if you can remember back in biblical times, and probably back 15, 20 years, there were scientists trying to prove the Bible wrong. But in today, the Bible has been proven right. Talk about the Red Sea crossing, and talk about many events that took place in the Bible, the Ark on the mountain in Turkey. It's all been proven valid and true. So then it brings me to the next question to mention to you is Genesis 21, verse 22, and Genesis 28, verse 15 reads as follows. God is with you in everything you do. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. All right, as I've mentioned on many occasions, life continues as usual. And remember the 10-10-10 policy to improve communications between one another by telling 10 people, and those 10 people telling another 10 people, and those people telling another 10 people. And that's how we get the message out there. Again, do this for your children. I'm doing this for my two boys, Donovan and Duncan. So I expect that we all stand together in the spirit, unite, and let's start making things change, and let's go green. Right, decision time. As I previously mentioned to you before, I want you to listen with your 3 ears. Join us, we want you. We have a National Emergency Plan Initiative that works and it kicks in, and it's your best alternative for survival when the government of the day cannot guarantee your safety and your life securities by any means at all. Just do it. Join us below. The links are below. Again, please like, share on all possible platforms, subscribe and press those notification buttons. I'm looking forward to talking to you all again soon. Stay well, safe, keep sharp. Tot ziens en groete. And by the way, my next video gaan Afrikaans wees. Die hele video gaan ek in Afrikaans met julle deel. Groete, lekker dag, bye.